Why are there two Josh Harts in this cutscene? How did this get through testing? Like who approved this? I'm just simply trying to play a game and there's two Josh Harts. NBA 2K is a franchise that I have played since the Dreamcast, and now if you're a basketball fan such as myself, NBA 2K is the only franchise that exists to offer an authentic NBA basketball experience. Long gone are the days of competition and stuff like that. No, you get one option, and you're happy with that one option. Now, NBA 2K has been on Nintendo platforms here and there. There was some on the Wii and the Wii U. Most recently, though, of course, it was on the Nintendo Switch, and I checked out some of those versions on the Switch, and I thought it was interesting with the portability aspect of it. Yes, those games only ran at 30 frames per second, but it had the novelty of being a portable basketball game. But with the Switch 2 and the added hardware power, and of course the fact that WWE 2K25 ran at 60 frames per second, I had high hopes for this version of NBA 2K26 on Nintendo's latest platform. And well, it's a mixed bag. So we're going to talk all about the Switch 2 version of the game, but first I want to give a huge thank you to today's video sponsor. So you bought a Nintendo Switch 2 and now you want to protect your investment. What better way to do that than with the Belkin Travel Case? The Belkin Travel Case is compact and built for travel. Whether you're doing your gaming on the go or a daily commute, this will keep the Nintendo Switch 2 protected inside. It features a game storage flap that will arrange your titles and keep them right at your fingertips, whether they're those pesky game key cards or full retail releases. The Belkin Travel Case has premium materials that offer a very sleek look and durable protection against daily wear and tear. You could choose between a sturdy handle or a wristlet strap for versatile and comfortable carrying of the Belkin Travel Case. And there's even a hidden compartment for your AirTag, which ensures that your case stays secure and easy to track, never outside of your reach. So what are you waiting for? Check out the link in the description box down below and get the Belkin Gaming Travel Case for your Nintendo Switch 2 right now. And a huge thank you to Belkin for sponsoring today's video. So NBA 2K26 does have some things going for it in a positive direction, I feel. This game is the same content level as the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series version of the game. It's called the next gen version, but I mean, it's really current gen. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One are not current gen anymore, but it's not based on the PS4 build or the Xbox One build. It is based on the PS5 and the Xbox Series builds, which means you get all of the bells and whistles that are in that version of the game and all of the different game modes. So I think that's a positive thing. Talking about game modes, you have all of your traditional game modes within the game. My career, my team, all of that sort of stuff that just wants to take money from you and take it from you very quickly so that you can level up your team and your player and go to the park and play against other people. I gotta be honest with you, this has never interested me. I've never enjoyed playing these things because I like to play the game of basketball. I like to play an authentic game of basketball with NBA players. Now, NBA 2K26 evidently has a whole new bunch of stuff in it. There's a new motion system that makes offense and defense seem more seamless, and now there's a new shot meter because, of course, every couple of years they always change up the shot meter to confuse longtime players. And while I might not notice the motion stuff quite as much, it does seem a little bit easier to defend in this version of the game than in some previous years past. There's not quite as much ice skating or skating across with the players. It seems a little bit more momentum based, and you could stay in front of your character quite a bit. I do think the new shot meter is actually very nice. It's simple, it's easy to understand, and it's easy to get your shots in the manner that you want to get your shots up in. And then, of course, we have the game itself, the quality of the basketball experience when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2. And here's where they get a little bit murky. Because, like I said, I had high hopes for this game. I obviously was not a huge fan of the way that Madden looked and performed on the Switch 2. Some people seem to think it's fine. Some people think it's great. That's awesome. You know, feel how you want to feel. It's just your opinion at the end of the day, and this is just my opinion. But with WWE 2K25 being such an awesome port, being 60 frames per second, I was like, yes, 2K is going to give me that 60 frame per second basketball, and they did not. NBA 2K26 on the Switch 2 is indeed 30 frames per second. And, you know, I'm fine with some games being 30 frames per second. Really, I am. You know, it just kind of depends on the game, and it depends on what style of game it is. And when we're talking about sports games, you know, timing is a very important thing. You have to remember your shots are based completely on timing. You know, the shot meter is a time-based meter. So to see that being 30 frames per second in terms of the gameplay after playing NBA 2K25 and 24 and 23 on the Xbox Series X, it's definitely a very jarring experience. Now, can you get used to it? Yes, but does it ever feel quite as good as the other versions of the game do? No, it doesn't, and I don't think it ever will. And what kind of bothers me about it is that the Xbox Series S version of NBA 2K26 is mostly 60 frames per second. There's little hiccups here and there, but for the most part, it is 60 frames per second, and it's kind of like, well, is this a game engine issue? Is this a, you know, how much development time went into the Switch 2 version? Or is the Switch 2 truly just capable of being 30 frames per second in this game? What's weird is it seems like the instant replays that happen, like the automatically triggered ones, are indeed 60 frames per second. As far as the graphics of the game are concerned, it does have some nice, you know, crowd animations and lights going off and stuff like that. I do feel like the overall visual quality of the game is a little bit soft, though, and it's especially noticeable when you're playing the game in handheld mode, which is, of course, one of the main reasons that you would want to play this. It can actually be hard, depending on which camera angle you're using, like the standard 2K camera angle, to see, like, and read players' names on the backs of their jerseys, which I feel like that shouldn't necessarily be the case. I feel like that should be pretty clear to see on the screen. So I am interested to see just what sort of frame rate what sort of resolution change there is when it is in handheld mode versus when it's in docked. I don't think the game is ugly or anything like that. Like, players look like they look. You do lose some of the different effects that are in the other versions of the game, such as like swaying jerseys all over the place and stuff like that. It seems like that's a bit scaled back on the Switch 2 version of the game, but hair does move, so that's a good thing. And then as far as like other little things I've noticed with the game, it seems like sometimes when it does an instant replay on a perfect shot meter for like a three-pointer or something like that, there is a little bit of a hitch that happens, which, you know, it doesn't happen every time, but it is noticeable. And I did notice a few bugs in the game. Besides the aforementioned strange double Josh Hart situation, I paused the game to do some substitutions, and when I got back into the game, the commentary was gone, and it did not come back for the rest of the quarter. Now, granted, I don't mind that sometimes, especially when Doris Burke is on the call, because I used to like Doris Burke. I don't know what happened to her. It just seems like she's lost a step over the years when it comes to commentary, and that could be because the NBA doesn't like any sort of, you know, constructive criticisms or any sort of, you know, independent thinking. They want you to stick with the script of what you're supposed to say. But I thought that was very weird. And, like, I made sure that I didn't, like, mute it or something like that. And then when the next quarter started, people were talking again. They also talked about some different graphics that were supposed to pop up on the screen, such as, like, a points distribution for the other team. And that graphic never popped up. Now, that's not specifically a Switch 2 version problem. I mean, it could be. I'm assuming that that's something that happens all across the board. But I gotta be honest, you know, I am a little bit let down with this version of the game. I think better could have been done. And if it can't be done, you kind of got to question, like, you know, what does this mean for some third-party games on the Switch 2? You know, we've gotten stuff like Street Fighter 6, which was 60 frames per second. We've gotten games like WWE 2K25, which was 60 frames per second. But is the 30 frame per second going to be more prevalent going forward in the future with some of these games? And if that's the case, why can't I have multiple different modes to choose from, like a performance mode or a quality mode? Because I'll be honest, I will take a hit in resolution or in graphical fidelity to get 60 frames per second in this game, because I want to play the game at at the proper speed and the proper setting of how it should look and feel, but I'm not being given that option. So maybe that's something developers can think about going forward, offering more options when it comes to performance or quality mode, and giving the player more choice over what they can do with their game instead of just defaulting to what they think is best. But, you know, I'm sure there's going to be people on social media who are going to tell you that NBA 2K26 is it's fantastic. It feels, you know, it's 1,000 frames per second, and that's fine, man. But, you know, sometimes the truth has to come along and be spoken. So let me know in the comment section down below. Do you plan on picking this up on the Switch too? Do you have another platform to pick it up on, such as an Xbox or a PlayStation? Because, well, you're probably going to have a better playing experience, and those games have cross-platform play where the Switch 2 version does not. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. A huge thank you to Belkin for sponsoring today's video. Check out the Belkin travel case in the description box and pinned comment down below. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.